Britain is experiencing a mental health crisis, which is particularly affecting young people. NHS data shows that between April and October last year, there was a 10% increase in children across England needing treatment for severe mental health crisis.
So the problem is a big one, and we clearly need to add more mental health capacity within the NHS, as if left unchecked, it'll only fester. Parliament has even taken submissions from mental health professionals detailing why it's so important to intervene early, laying out that if unchecked, issues can worsen for individuals, leading to negative health and social outcomes for society. And perhaps most ironically for those on the neoliberal bandwagon, it actually leads to negative economic outcomes as well.
But facts don't get in the way of opinions for many former prime ministers, it seems. This week, Tony Blair gave his 2 cents on the rising demand for mental health support on the podcast Jimmy's Jobs for the Future.
We're spending vastly more on mental health now than we did a few years ago. And it's hard to see what the objective reasons for that are. And if we're not careful, we get into a position where people, life has its ups and downs and everybody experiences those. And you've got to be careful of encouraging people to think they've got some sort of condition other than, simply confronting the challenges of life.
I'll tell you what's bad for my mental health, seeing Tony Blair speak about anything in 2025. I think it's really important to try and engage with the fact that the crisis in mental health is not the result of self-diagnosis or over-medicalisation. Many people are living with an undiagnosed mental health condition due to systemic failures to identify and treat conditions early enough. According to Bipolar UK, people with bipolar disorder wait, on average, 9.5 years for a correct diagnosis. This delay has profound human and economic consequences, with bipolar-related suicides alone costing the UK between £436 million and £872 million annually. If you're talking about challenges of life, then by all means, let's have a conversation about the housing crisis, meaning people are struggling to pay their rent, or, job insecurity, or the fact that real wages have struggled to increase in the last 15 years. If you're worried about why people are worried about the challenges of life, maybe look at kind of systemic inequality.
Right. Challenges of life sounds like, had a few bad dates. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I live in a country that's in economic decline and is slowly but surely getting taken over by toxic politics. And actually, funnily enough, I feel a little bit down. That's a logical conclusion to draw in terms of your feeling of well-being or your optimism for the future. Do you know what I mean?
It is patronising shite that, it's sort of pseudoscience that he doesn't actually seem to substantiate with any hard evidence. And meanwhile, organisations stuffed with experts on this issue are saying that, there is a mental health crisis, but it's a crisis of people actually getting seen for the mental health problems that they have. As somebody who has experienced a certain number of mental health issues that I've spoken about publicly in the past, I know the only reason that I've been able to see them is because I have been able to pay for private mental health support. That's just a reality of my life. I know that that's the only reason I've been able to get assistance in this. It's incredibly offensive to people that are struggling. For somebody that we're constantly told has this incredible political skill and acumen to read the national mood, he's never sounded more divorced from reality.
No, absolutely. And it's so fun, isn't it? Because we've been talking about AI today and about how this idea has kind of captured our political establishment, if you want to use that language, and about how it can fix everything. But it's somehow the idea that there's been developments in the study of mental health and that people realise now that certain conditions aren't a fact of life and they can be helped. Oh no, that's wah. All the millennials are crying about they can't take any stress. What? I don't understand it. Do we like science or we don't like science? What do we like here?
Yeah, that's a really critical thing here. Is do you believe in reason and evidence?
Yeah. Or
do you want to simply baselessly speculate? But then I guess Tony Blair has never been a huge fan of evidence. whether it's in the mental health of the UK or the lead up to the war in Iraq, Tony Blair has always had a, shall we say, mixed relationship with a need for evidence.
And just a reminder that if you're feeling any struggles with your mental health, please don't listen to Tony Blair. Make the most of the NHS that we're all paying for and is ours and we should be all fighting for. Talk to your GP. You can receive a referral for therapy. We've also included mental health resources in the show notes.